Thanks, guys, and thank you, Marius. He covered a lot of topics which I don't have to talk about now, which is really good. I wrote some things down there which came up, and every time I do a clinic, it's the same questions, because I think you ask, okay, but if it's not about winning and losing, what is it about then, right? We will cover this, or maybe I want to challenge the way you think about winning, losing, and maybe instead of focusing on this, focus on who you want to be as a coach. I want to start off with a video. This is Stuart McMillan. He's famous track and field coach. Okay, and listen what he has to say.
The most successful organizations are the ones where all the staff are on the same page. They all have an integrated system. Traditionally, and still to this day, many teams have a very siloed system. Here's the therapists, here's the doctors, here's the strength staff, here's the technical staff, here's the GMs, here's the whatever. And it's very siloed. The best football teams, the best soccer teams, the best basketball teams are those that are led well from the top. And the person at the top of that system understand the importance of having it truly integrated, where everybody's having a conversation daily, working together daily. People maybe get sick of me talking about the importance of a system, a well-functioning integrated system, but it is everything. At every level, at every scale, does the athlete feel supported by the entirety of the system? What does that mean? Is everybody working with the same objective, having the same words and same conversations, singing from the same hymn sheet? It's everything.
We've heard a lot about technique and skill today already. And when I started working for TSV Bayer Leverkusen, which is now 2 years ago, I came into the club with the idea that I wanted to help the coaches grow. Because I worked for 10, 15 years as a coach. And what helped me really was what Marius also just described. People and other coaches came to my practices and watched and observed and asked questions and also confronted me in a respectful manner, but they challenged me with questions that they had concerning my practice. And this is when things really started clicking for me. And when I started working in Leverkusen, everybody was talking about talent, was talking about technique, was talking about skill. We need more skill training. We need more technique-based things. And then I asked them, what is technique? What is skill? And there was no common answer. And this is what the first thing what I would like you to do is, you pair up two together, which are not sitting next to each other, and you talk about your definition. What does technique mean to you? And what does skill mean to you? 3 minutes. Let's go. Who wants to share their definition about skill and their definition about technique? Okay. There, with me, actually, I didn't want to cover this topic, but we will do because it's important also for the next 2 days. Language of coaching. With me, there's no right or wrong. I don't believe in right or wrong when it comes to motor learning. And also, like, be free to tell your opinion, because yeah, okay.
These skills to adapt to every situation you can get at a game. So there's a situation can be a layup, and then there's a help side coming over. I can adapt to your step and still make the basket.
What is important when there's come a defender and the player is able to adapt. Yeah, Marius was talking about this. What must he be perceiving in order to be adapting?
The environment.
Yeah, and what's in the environment? There's an defender, there's information in the environment. Perfect. Other opinions about technique or skill? Yeah.
So Sebastian and I were combining it to find that the technique is something you're able to do, and the skill is to pick the right technique for a specific situation.
Nice. Why is this important to know? Because I want you to be, after Sunday, very intentional with your language and also with your knowledge. Because every time I talk with coaches, not only in my environment, but when we're talking now here, we have to know what we're talking about. Are we on the same page? Because it really helps if we're on the same page, if we have the same understanding what technique means and what skill means. A lot of words that have already been mentioned. What is skill? There was environment, information, perceiving. So everything you just said. Technique, or at least this is also how I was taught, like Marius. There was a belief of one ideal solution. Marius had to shoot on under his right eye. I had to shoot like this, feet straight to the basket. This is how I was taught, and everybody was taught like this. I still can remember to this day, every Thursday I had to go to the gym, 100 shots, form shooting, right hand. Then I was able to put my left hand to the ball, and then the same thing with my left hand. This is how I was, this is how I grew up when it comes to shooting. I have a nice definition from a soccer coach, which put it in a way you described, like you described it, okay? So everybody take a moment, read it. And again, look for the wording. It's about finding functional solutions, not the right decisions. What is the right decision? It depends on the context. It depends on the information we're in. When we're thinking about the cut we saw on Mario's video, okay? If there would have been a defender here under the basket, would it be a good cut? Why? Yeah, and we don't want to cut on a defender, but there was no defender in there. So imagine you as a coach saying, hey, this was a good cut. Like you do video analysis or even like instant feedback. This was a good cut. Next play, here's the defender. He cuts again. You say, this was a bad cut, bad decision. What might you be thinking as a player now?
You're confused.
Exactly. What does the coach want from me now? I'm confused. I don't know. Is it good? Is it bad? Language has a big influence in how we perceive things, but also in terms of feedback. And we're going to get there later on. So, who has heard of the constraint-led approach? Raise your hand. Okay. Who wants to explain to the others what the constraint-led approach is?
Christoph might be the best.
Who wants to do it? Can I ask you to do it? You raise your hand?
I mean, I can try. I think
Yeah.
the idea is what is in the definition of technique, that there is not an ideal solution, and in training we're not supposed to teach the ideal solution, but give the players like a large space of solutions and use constraints to guide them towards finding solutions to the problems.
Basically it. And what are the 3 components of the constraint-led approach? Who can tell me those? Dresden Titan guys. Where are you? You? No? Okay. It's like, and it's so good that Marius was here beforehand because he talked, yeah. This is part of how motor learning evolves. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there later. Okay. Marius talked about relative age effect. That if you're born early, if you're born late, those are individual constraints. Okay. How tall are you? The length of your legs, how tall my hand is. Those are all individual constraints. They might be changing over time, especially in the youth level, but at a certain point of time, those are fixed. But then you have things like fatigue. Okay, how's your mood? Those are all individual constraints. Then we have environmental constraints. This is a really nice gym. You have so many baskets here. Yeah. It's not so hot in here, I can imagine, in the summertime, like all those things, and environmental constraints. And then we have the task constraints. And those are the constraints which we can be manipulated the most as a coach perspective. Why is this important? I do believe that you learn through movement. I don't do any stuff against zero. I don't do any stuff against without no defender, except for one thing when it comes to differential learning. We're gonna go there in a second, but stay with me here. You will see some improvements, okay? Just like Mario said with the cones, okay? But you need the information that there's gonna be in the game, the defender. You can only react if the information is there. So, and for us in Leverkusen, like, we have a clear vision for our practices. Practice has to be as effective as it can be. We talk about the same things. How much time do the kids move in the practice? How much time do you talk as a coach? What kind of games do we create? What kinds of activities? Because just like Mario said, you only have so much time, and like tomorrow and Sunday, it's not a realistic setup that we're gonna have, because the reality is you have 2 baskets, 15 to 20 players. Okay. So the idea is, or when I first started thinking about how can we make practice more effective, I started looking. And the journey led me to, I'm father of 2 kids now. And I started the journey as a basketball player, like thinking about motor learning, how do players learn, how can we create an environment that is more effective than others. And I made a self-experiment with my 3-year-old son. Who has kids too? Okay, just raise your hand. Perfect. Who doesn't have kids? Okay, our check, guys. Can I ask you a question? Imagine, or how would you imagine teaching your son riding the bicycle? How would you do that?
Maybe I will do that like in the photo without I don't know how to say the
Training wheels? Without them or with them?
without,
Why?
because when they fall down they I think that learn much than with the I don't know the word
The balance, you mean?
the wheels.
They learn more without the wheels because they fall down and then they get feedback about what's working for them and not. Okay, then you're way smarter, or you have a different kind of perception than I was at the age when you was, because I grew up believing, like I saw in the movies, when my kids finally go on the bicycle, I have to run beside them. Maybe if they fall, I have to catch them, and then I went down this path about, okay, how does motor learning occur? How can I help my children? And what's the difference maybe between training them with training wheels and training them with a balance bike? I clipped together over the course of 3 years the progress of my son. Okay, I want to show you, and just observe what is he doing on the balance bike. And spoiler, there are no he's not falling down. Okay, I didn't put it in there, but of course it happens. Of course it happened. And then I was there, I hugged him, he cried, all this stuff. Okay, but just observe what's he doing with a balance bike. Yeah, and maybe think about these things. What's the difference? What kind of information, because we're talking about technique and skill, what kind of information did he perceive? And what kind of information might be missing if he would have been practicing with the training wheels? What kind of experience, my son's name is Jonah, did he gain with the balance bike, and what might he miss out on the training wheels? So this is the first time ever he's on the balance bike. First time ever, first video. Now he's on the grass. Don't worry, we put a helmet on him later on, okay? But it's like the second or third time he's on the balance bike. Look what's he doing, what he's doing. He needs to rest sometimes, okay? He's going faster, he's going his own pace. There's the helmet because now there's in another surface environmental constraints, okay? We have a dog too, so I would go a lot with him through the forest. Now he's getting bigger, and we bought him a bigger balance bike. Now he has a brake too in the front, okay? And even though this is my little daughter, I film her a lot. Look and observe what is he doing at the end. This is a pump track. He goes up, he goes down, different surfaces, he goes fast, he needs to brake. First time on the bike. First time ever. And this is not our bicycle. This was from our neighbors. And I don't know, like when you have kids, things are expensive. Like this bike you saw cost 400 euros. So we decided to buy him not a new one, but an older one. This is like the Pookie generation. It's much heavier. Okay, it's much heavier, but was a lot cheaper in the beginning. And we decided, okay, he can have this one at first. In the video you saw, he had to pedal, go on the bike. Now he's on the bicycle with a pump track. Yeah, I made the video a little bit faster. So he's actually kind of slow, struggles a little bit. He's not even 3 years old there. 13. He's going 13 kilometers per hour, and was driving 10 or was going with a bicycle 10 kilometers with my wife. And this isn't me talking about my son is going to be the greatest bicycle driver in the world, or is the best athlete in the world. But the question now is, how does this relate to basketball? What can we take from this? Yeah.
Yeah, about failure, but in a still controlled way. Like you don't start with the bicycle immediately. You still make it as challenging as needed to progress, to be able to progress. If you start with the bike immediately, maybe they give up because it's too hard.
Yeah. Thinking about the last picture, Mario said, finding the optimal challenge point in your practices is vital, okay, to run effective practices. What did you say? Yeah. Why is it? What do you mean by this? What is about failure?
So I think you just can be succeed if you're better before.
Because what do you know after you failed? Exactly. And this is way better feedback than a coach or any other person can ever give you. Because the role of me when he was learning it through the balance bike was he will figure it out. If he falls down, and he did fall down, I'm there to protect him. I'm there to nurture him. I'm there to encourage him getting back on the bicycle, the balance bike again. And then the transfer, and when we talk about skill now, like we see bicycle, okay, learning how to drive the bicycle is the end skill, so to say. What is the problem with the training wheels?
Especially with the bike, I mean, it is learning how to ride a bike was based on previous experiences. And if we would have installed training wheels, we would have neglected those previous insights that he gave. So we would have completely changed the circumstances under which he would have learned how to ride a bike.
Perfect. And it's the same thing, or I think it's a good conclusion also when you think about on-air practices. Because the idea isn't bad in the beginning, okay, to do practice wheels. Because we want to reduce the cognitive load for or at least I imagine that those kind of people who installed those or had the idea about building and selling those, that was their initial idea to help them, okay? But we are decoupling the skill that is actually needed to ride a bicycle. Because there's no need that he has to find a way of balancing the bike, which is vital. So with riding a balance bike, He needs to steer, he needs to go straight, he needs to brake, he's able to put the feet on the ground whenever he feels not safe, whenever it's going too fast. He learns, and this is the one thing. What did he do when I told you I filmed my daughter a lot? What did he do on his own, without me even telling? Yeah, exactly. It was the first time that he felt comfortable gliding. So now, I want you to go together again with a different partner and talk about what's the problem with breaking down a technique, aka decomposing a technique. And now we go, you can talk about the riding a bicycle example, or you can talk about a basketball related skill. Okay? I don't mind. 3 minutes, let's go. It has to be another partner. It has to be another partner. Okay, what's the problem with decomposing techniques? What do you guys talk about?
I think you increase the complexity. I believe that there's a kind of intuitive learning, and if you couple certain things, there are learning results. And if you break it down into every single individual step, you increase the complexity and you isolate things, and then it's easier for example, for the learner to understand what is the overall picture of all the individual parts of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but are you saying it is a good thing to break them down, or is it because
you always have to find the I would say you have to find the right degree of how detailed you break it down. When you see there are things that function good together, you should leave them together, and you should try to only isolate the things where they struggle. But don't with decomposing something, whether you should not you should focus on not to interfere the learning process.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. In this case, what do we leave out of the equation when it comes to learning the skill riding a bicycle with the training wheels? And this is the problem with the decoupling or decomposing. Because what is he not able to learn with the training wheels? Exactly. Yeah. And back in the days, there were a lot of balance bikes, and for sure the kids learned how to ride a bicycle at the end. But still remember, we're thinking about how can we create learning environments that are most effective. And the transfer result was 100%. I don't know, when did your kids start learning the bicycle? How old were they?
4.
Yeah, same age. Yeah, almost 4. Yeah. Other opinions? Yeah.
Just creating a national environment. You are taking your example with the cut.
Yeah.
When you say we are cutting 3-0, depending on which angle I use to attack, you're just running straight, arm on the basket, and that's it. But when the defender is there, there is like that's reality. There's a defender there. When you're going 3-0, it's like the training wheels. It's unnatural to try to buy these training wheels. When they are not there, or the next example, because if the defender is there, what are you doing then? The only thing you learn at this point is running through, and you can't just run through a fucking wall. So yeah, I think that's the problem. You have to find a way where you break it down a little bit, maybe 2-on-1 situation where you only have one defender who has to decide. This means you can't. It's an easy decision, but it's a decision. So and from there on, you're going 3-2, 3-3, or so.
Yeah, because there the information is still there. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but when I started coaching, I did the same things Mario just said. Yeah, I started laughing when I was sitting there because I heard never Marius talked about these things. I did the exact same things. Even I threw everyone out of practice because I said the typical things. They're not good enough. They just don't get it. Yeah. We were playing like in the area where I'm from. There's one club, Hagen. They play zone press, zone defense. They double team under 12, under 14. They do zone. Okay. And we had to prepare for them. And I did the classical passing lines. I did the classical, what was classical back then? I called it the Laker drill. You have to pass, you have to cut, you receive the ball, you finish. Then I did press break with them, 30 minutes, just 5 against 0. Okay, after every free throw, you're going to do this, and they're going to be there and there. They smacked us by 40 points because we're not ready. And back then, I blamed it on the players. We're just not talented enough. We're just not good enough, okay? I was very fortunate back then that I had a mentor, which I didn't know at the time, but he would came to my practices and ask questions. And then I started asking myself questions and starting realize, maybe it's not the players. Maybe he has a point. This is when my journey began digging into motor learning. I studied sports science in the University of Cologne, and I really started digging into there must be another fucking way. There must be something else. And then I got the JBBL job, and I wanted to be at the top. Because I played youth national team too, I wanted to experience or give the experience that I did as a player to my players. I wanted to compete against Alba Berlin, but I was at a program that only played Pro B back then, and we only had twice a week practice, Tuesdays and Fridays, and Saturday mornings. We didn't have any physiotherapists. We didn't have athletic performance coach. We don't have a sports psychologist. And then I was lucky enough that Marius also influenced me, gave me ideas, asked me some questions. Also, like the tic-tac-toe drill you showed, you saw, I started doing those things, and I started adapting and looking in other sports, what are they doing? And copied it into my own practices, creating chaos. And then two, 3 years later, we were in the Final Four. We were able to compete against other clubs. And this is without all the scientific things which are encouragingly, there are a lot of data which indicates that small-sided games are beneficial, that the constraint-led approach is beneficial. And this is like my own story that I saw firsthand that it can work. I'm gonna skip those. So this is now we made a big jump. What does this mean for basketball practice? If you know all these kind of things. The left video is the first video I saw on YouTube, okay? First one. Is it a bad drill? No, I wouldn't say this, okay? Would I be doing this kind of drill in my practices? No, I wouldn't. Because what's missing? The information which is necessary to get from point A to B. Because actually, for me, ball handling or handling the ball is how to get from point A to point B most effectively. And of course, when we talk about half-court stuff, being able to control the ball under pressure. Yeah, those kind of things. Because actually what we want to do is develop those kind of behaviors that we see emerging within the context. So big question always is, yeah.
Maybe you could even see it in the eyes where they were looking, say all the time scanning the floor, defenders, and the other guy was just looking down, looking for the next code where to find it.
Exactly.
What we said before, like, what do you actually see?
What do you perceive? Where you looking? Yeah. This is the most asked question then. Who was teaching mini basketball or as a mini coach? Okay, you guys go together in one group, okay, or maybe you can group up in 2 or 3 groups depending on how many people are there. You get the question for me or the task, how can we simplify the learning environment without removing the necessary information which is needed in the game, the defender? What can you do? Okay, this is your task. And for the under 14s, who's under 14 and above? Very good. You try to think about how can you, I don't want to say overload, but how can you make it more challenging for your players to get from point A to B and make it as representative as it can be. All right? I give you, and you should design a practice or like an activity, maybe even put some constraints for the defender, for the offense, constrain the space, the time, whatever you like. Okay? I give you 3 minutes again. Go together in groups of 3 now. Before we go into this topic, because I heard it, I think somewhere here. When you ask me the question, okay, should we be doing something else or more?
Just was it task just for ball handling drills or like games or for shooting or something or layups?
Yeah. I would all invite you to be coaching more outcome orientated. What does this mean? This means that you don't tell players how to solve a problem, but you definitely have to tell them what they should be achieving. And for me, ball handling is how to get from point A to B. And I'm open and even curious about what kind of solutions are they going to find. And I'm going to show you some clips in a moment. Because often I have the feeling that it's about, okay, now you have to do between the legs. Now you have to do behind the back. I was in the national team and the coach there forbid me to do a spin move during a fast break. Okay, because he said to me, it's not fast enough. And maybe for me it was even right. But when you look at Dennis Schröder, he's doing spin move when he's pushing the ball in front of the floor because he can do this with his individual constraints. So be more open about it, especially when we talk about these things like ball handling, passing, even shooting, finishing. You might have a good understanding about, okay, what finish would have been more successful or more efficient, but then it is your duty to create a learning environment that fosters this solution. Actually, you're more like architects creating learning environments. This is one part. And of course, there's another part when we talk about coverage solutions, when we talk about what are we going to do against pick and roll switching defense, and we have the empty side corner. What are our solutions? Then it's okay to drop your knowledge and to say, okay, we can do this, this, but I'm open because what is pick and roll all about? What is the goal? What is the outcome of a pick and roll? Before that? Huh? And what is 2-on-1? Get an advantage. And I don't fucking care how they're going to do it, or if he's going to reject it, if he's splitting it, if he's making a boomerang pass, there's so many solutions, and I'm open if he's able to create an advantage or not. This is a big difference for me. And I think this is a big misconception of the constraint-led approach that, just like Mario said in the beginning, I see a lot of good activities, coaches just standing there, looking, not changing it, and like being like a DJ, like mixing the constraints. Okay, now we need a little bit more space. Now we have to take a little bit of the time away. Yeah, this is what for me makes nowadays a great coach. That he's able to observe what's missing. Are they going to find a solution or not? All right. Under 8, under 10, under 12. What are your ideas? Ball handling activities. What can we do?
Give the defender a ball, so yes, dribble 2, stay in front of him, or you can ball it in front of his chest, so you can use his hands.
Perfect. Good idea. Another idea. Or an adding idea.
Reduce the space where the defender can keep just a line.
Yeah. Another ideas. Another constraints.
Let the defender face another way, so he doesn't see the person who's holding the ball at the beginning, so that's more time advantage.
Yeah. Especially when we talk about shooting, we're going to do this Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if you heard about the quiet eye, but the quiet eye is something that like all the high percentage shooters have, because they're able, from where they don't see the basket, they can lock in on the basket and also focus there. This means quiet eye. And if you do this in practice, which Marius talked about chaos, you know, you have to be here, then you have to be there. You can also, like, simple things like turn your back, now shoot. It's, you train your eyes. Good idea. Something else. Perfect. Because I often hear, yeah, Felix, this all makes sense. I know, I understand, but I can't do it with my under 10. I can't do it. Yeah. This is why I always try to show them the bicycle comparison, that they get an idea about, it's just about the environment that you create. This is, I think, 2 years ago, where I did a clinic for Sporthelferausbildung. I don't know what's it called in English. It's like young coaches from 13 to 17 years old, like the new coaching generation. And I want to implement, you have to do passing, ball handling, all those kinds with them. And just like Mario said, you're going to see this activity now, and later on I'm going to do it with JBBL kids. But add the cognitive load. So back then I used towels. You can use a basket, okay? If you put the basket behind the back, it's even more challenging, because then what happens, what do we, yeah, people fall. Yeah, this is going to happen. This is going to happen for sure. What else are we teaching the defender when we say to them, ball in the back or ball in the front? Yeah, we teach them chest up. What did you say? Quick feet. Quick feet. Hey. Huh? This is a whole nother topic when we talk about defensive principles. Thomas Pech came to like a coaching course when I was a little bit younger, and asked like the question, why don't we want to teach them to steal the ball in front of the court? No, just there's no right or wrong. If you say you go for the ball, then you just have to know that your defense behind has to be ready to help. Okay? So, what's the idea for under 14 and above? What did you came up with?
I think we messed up because we were not talking about dribbling specifically, but we put together a different situation where we, for example, for the trailing defender behind you, that you, or behind the person, if one half side in front, so you have for that overload kind of thing, you would need to keep the person that's behind you, as well as finding a solution against the person that's coming like as help defender. So by overloading,
Because we thought about the video you showed, in which Shay had to adapt in 30 seconds and to pass a presentation, and that's what we thought of this video.
And that's not wrong. You just added another skill when it comes to, then he also has the decision of pass and he has the decision of finishing. Now we are really trying to reduce the cognitive load and take other decisions away, and it's just about getting from point A to point B and finding a solution. This is not wrong. This could be might be the next step. How are they going to react in traffic when there are a lot of people around? Okay. Who had other ideas, other constraints? Yeah.
Restrict the space that is available, put time pressure.
Yeah, perfect. Why is it always important to limit the space? Or especially in this case with ball handling.
because it's the same thing in the game. I have a lot of kids that try to do something and they always run into the person right next to them on the next one. And we're happy that they learned that there's space, but when they can't use the space that we're creating.
Yeah. And how's I don't know about in this area, but how's everybody defending in even JBBL level, which is just the development that occurred? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. If the ball when I was playing, full deny, exactly, look like this. Okay. And now I don't know how you cue it. Sometimes is, I know Alba Berlin says at least maybe 75% of the players, you have to be on the passing line. Some coaches also use the phrase, you have to put your hand have to be on the passing lane. Okay? So when we know most of the teams are defending like this, and we don't constrain the room, what are we not able to do in the game then? Or the space?
We're never going to beat that concept because it's the perfect way to use space, more space, get past our defender and start to build down and try to force.
Exactly. If we don't constrain the space like this, we're not able to attack him. Okay. Of course, other concepts come into play, or principles of play. If a player plays like this, might be good to cut here, right? So and then we need to find a solution for, okay, how can this player perceive this and pass the ball? But this is another topic. Okay. Just some examples. Okay. So I added another defender. Still, they're not allowed to use their hands. Okay. And this you could be even doing with under 12, for sure. Okay. Yeah, we already did this. Now I'm adding a time constraint. So they had to start both at the same time and then they had to go. I think now they're only allowed to move lateral, okay? But they can move, but they can use their hands. And I think is this clip. Look at the player or observe the player in the middle, the ball handler. What did the guy in the middle do? Did you see it? We're gonna look again. What? They're in the middle with the ball. With the ball. I don't care how. Okay, that he gets there. We are always talking about how do we create? Can we create? How can we create creativity? If you tell them exactly how to do it, creativity won't be there. You have to be sure and know what is your outcome. What is it that you want to have about passing? What is it that you want to have about finishing? What is it that you want to have about ball handling? And for me, it's just about getting from A to B. And I'm open and curious about how he's going to get there. And then look what is emerging. This kind of behavior. This is what we want as coaches, right? We want to have the next Dennis Schröder who can throw LAU passes. We want to have the next guy who is really creative, like Lionel Messi and all those kind of guys. We want to find him. And we want to create learning environments where we can encourage them to explore different kind of solutions. What did I say now? What can you see? Huh? Exactly. They can go right at him, just how they like. They can double team, they can not double team, okay? And what do you observe for the offensive players? Gonna go again. Huh? Exactly. Now we're getting at the edge of, it might be too challenging right now. Okay? I think in the last one I even put I tapped it off to put a time constraint. Then they were allowed to double team right away. It was limited space and they had to be at the half court line in 4 seconds. Because sometimes I have the feeling this is the game. This is 100%. This is as representative as it can get. And I always try to fill in this gap, or even sometimes go above this gap. Okay. Coming back to the example with the double team I faced in Hagen. Does any of you have an idea how could you create a learning environment where you prepare your team in a playful scenario against double team? Huh? For offensive play, yeah. What will you do? What would be the cue for the additional extra defender? He has to double team. Exactly. We could do this half court. We could do this even full court. Okay, then we play 5 against 5 plus 1 extra defender in the half court and 1 additional defender in the front court. What would happen then? Would it be every time the same scenario where they double team? Every time, different location, different players. It's even tougher for the players to find a solution, because sometimes I have the feeling we want to make it more challenging in the game, in the practices, so it's easier for them in the game. Yeah, this is another game, Prison Break. And again, already start thinking about how can you be a DJ with this learning environment and scaling it up. What could we do? Go. Just say. Closer. What could we do? Huh? More players. Yeah. Only left hand. Time difficult here, I think. Maybe they have to do a decision then. Okay. We could put a second ball handler in the prison, put the cones away, so the space is longer. Okay. We're not gonna dive so deep into this kind of topic because I want you guys. Who's there Saturday and Sunday? Perfect. I want you to go together. I've written it down. 3 coaches who will be working together Saturday, Sunday, and it cannot be a coach that you already know. Okay? Cannot be a coach that you already know. Has to be somebody different. You have 90 seconds to group up. Okay? The other guys, they can group up also. Yeah, they can group up also. 3 guys, 3 coaches together. Okay? Let's go. Ja, dann gehst du trotzdem mit in die Gruppe, okay? Perfect. Everybody together in their group? Wonderful. You need something to write. You need a pen, because the idea is for Saturday and Sunday the following. I prepared coaching cards for you guys, and you have to design an activity, and I gave you the constraints of what is allowed and what's not allowed. For every card, you have to design one activity that you be showing Saturday and Sunday. Because I'm here to guide you also in those practices. I will show stuff, but I want to help you guide through those kind of practical ideas that you have. I want to meet you where you're at right now. And not just, I'm going to do here 6 hours of practice and everybody is sitting on the sidelines. This is not in the constraint-led approach and the way I believe coaching should be. Maybe I'm sure, not maybe, there will be an activity which I'm going to grab from you and put it into my own practice. All right? So, warm up. This is everything you need to know. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to design at least one activity and think about the constraints that you can use. Ja. Das ist die Karte. Das ist die Online-Karte. Ja.
Also zu irgendwas.
Das ist erst Warm-up. Das ist nur Warm-up. Okay? And if you noticed what Mario said, explanations must be under 30 seconds tomorrow and Sunday. Okay? So to explain the activity, okay? Was heißt originell? Genau, es soll Spaß machen. Okay? Wait a minute. Stop. Okay. I forgot 2 explanations. Degrees of freedom, self-organization. The bigger question actually now is, when we know this is how motor learning can be solved, like when you think about my son, the initial idea was that there's the brain, which is like a computer, like a storage unit, where when I do a technique, it's saved. And then I just can put it out there whenever I want. First of all, this is the black box theory. There's no scientific evidence that this actually exists. Second of all, if this truly exists, and we talked a lot about perception and action, how is it possible? Information processing, muscle memory. Who has heard about muscle memory? Okay. What is muscle memory? What have you heard about it? Yeah.
Here that some movement patterns are integrated by a lot of training that you can automatically reproduce them.
Exactly. And is this true? Question mark. Okay. If just think about it logically. If it were true, when my wife was pregnant, I gained 20 kilos plus. And I was still able to ride my bicycle. And I didn't ride my bicycle for 2 months, this period where I gained those 20 kilos plus. If my brain works like a computer and stored movement patterns, which I, over the course of my life, I've practiced riding the bicycle with a certain amount of weight, how is it possible that I can still be, that I'm still able to balance the bike with 20 plus kilos? How is it possible? How is it possible that if women are pregnant, they go through the phases of trimesters, okay? Their belly starts growing. There has been a study where they should be walking through a door, which was a lot smaller than a regular door. And they tested the pregnant woman through those trimesters. They have never been walked there through the door with the belly before, okay, when they were pregnant, and they were still able getting through there every time. So it's more about perceiving, acting, and then doing it. And it's not like muscle memory. I see something, then I decide, and then I do it. It's a ongoing process every time. Yeah.
The information must be somehow processed. vision connected to my action?
You perceive an act continuously.
Do we talk about like really thinking about it, or do we talk about processing? Because processing is just like, how else can you move without processing the information?
You perceive an act at the same time, almost at the same time.
Yeah, almost.
Exactly.
Like milliseconds of reaction time.
Okay, but it's not stored somewhere. Okay, like when you look at a big flock of birds, 200 birds at the same time. How is it that they're not colliding to each other? How can it be? When we think about muscle memory, then they must have been practicing, and they should be able to collect all the data from all birds that they're not colliding. This is impossible. They're perceiving and acting at the same time. It's a process that is every time ongoing. This is the old theory why we did 1 against 0. The new idea is we have degrees of freedom in our bodies and our joints, how we move, what we can do. And we put players in learning environments or through constraints in a setup where they're then self-organize them. Just like with my boy. I put them on a bicycle. I didn't tell him what he should be doing, but I put the learning environment like this with a balance wheel. I put him a helmet on, and he self-organized himself. His body self-organized himself. Just to now we dipped in that anyway, but just these two explanations: degrees of freedom, self-organization. A little bit more clear. Just think about like this. Do a warm-up, which is a little bit unusual when it comes to basketball movements, what they have to do. Okay? First activity, 5 minutes. Let's go. When I created those coaching cards for today, for me is one thing very important. Of course, this one, but also this. Every time I go and watch practices, also in the beginning at Leverkusen, they would do one-on-one, and then it would end like this. Somebody would shoot, ball would drop on the floor, both would go away. Or somebody shoots, the offensive player gets the rebound, grabs the ball, and goes and walks and cues again. Which is not only travel, but guess what kind of problem the coach had when we talked after the practices and games. Not only finishing, but what else? Huh? Rebounding. And then I asked him, okay, in the one-on-one game you did you guys rebound? No. That's interesting. How do you create a habit? Because again, for me, and I know that maybe you're gonna not pass C, B, or A license if you cannot, okay, you have to make contact, you have to like box out technique. You have to describe these kind of things, okay? Which is a little bit silly, but this is another topic. For me, it's just about, are you able to keep him out of the paint? And are you able to secure the rebound? Again, outcome orientated. And I don't care, honestly, how he's not letting him get the ball. He has to figure it out. This is important. And like another big thing, who has a clear definition of their own shot selection in their team? Raise their hand. Shot selection. Yeah, clear definition of a shot selection. Okay, what's your shot selection?
Feel like it's a good shot for you?
Huh?
If you feel like that's a good shot,
That's
And
ve-
then afterwards you can give feedback and talk about it, but it's better if they know that they are allowed to shoot at all times if they think it's the right decision. And then you can give feedback too.
yeah, I know what you mean. We're gonna get back to this. What is the problem, or maybe you experience it yourself? You do one-on-one. Sometimes they like you do one-on-one from the 3-point line. Somebody takes a shot from here. Is this a shot that you want? Is this what you want to teach right now? It depends exactly. What do you want to teach? Now it's about finishing.
But then you can force them to finish. Like
What can you say?
more points for finishes inside the paint.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I think points is a good system. I don't want to say this, but sometimes it can also get difficult. What would be the alternative? And like we want to encourage player to do a certain finish. We could add points. What is the alternative? What could we? Marius told about do's and don'ts. What could we tell the player not to do?
Do not finish outside of the zone, for example.
Perfect. And what changes entirely now? And both, exactly. And this is what I mean with intentional language in the beginning. If you know what kind of shots you want to have in your game, because those are the most valued shot that you want to have, or the most high percentage shot, you can also say, then say you can only finish in the smile. You can only finish in the no charge circle. You can only finish in the zone. This totally changes the activity. This is important when we talk about finishing. Yeah. We already did ball handling, so you can both, I would say, in 7 minutes, okay? Be really creative with the finishing, because we're going to do a lot of different scenarios tomorrow. Yeah? Try to think about maybe what are players struggling right now within your team, what kind of position, or how do you want to constrain the defender, what changes, okay? I give you 6 minutes to create an activity, finishing activity, and also ball handling activity, which you already did. Let's go.
Schwierig, aber so eine Spiele in der
Ich habe gerade dieses Rückentippen aus der U8, ne? Wenn du so ein kleines am Rücken tippst und dann
Perfekt, genau. Ja, sehr gut.
zugehst, dann, wenn du halt schnell bist, die ersten Schritte, dann hast du wahrscheinlich einen Wurf, der nicht unbedingt gut verteidigt ist.
Genau, und was lernen sie dadurch schon, wenn du nach diesem Prinzip, wenn du das machst? Also ich mache mal ein Beispiel, du wirst Kinder sehen, die dribbeln hier weiter. Was wird dann wahrscheinlich passieren? Sehr gut. Das heißt, was lernen sie, wenn sie hier reingehen?
Vorbei und schnell vorbei.
Ich denke manchmal schon,
Und einen Vorteil zu halten. Und ohne dass du es sagen musst, werden sie das von alleine realisieren, weil das Ziel ist ja, 1 gegen 0 Layup zu kriegen. Ja? Also teach damit direkt schon eine gute Gewohnheit.
Und dann immer auch schon, also das habe ich jetzt mitgenommen, dieses Ziel auch wirklich schon mitgeben. Also nicht nur einfach sagen, das sollte machen, sondern auch schon das Ziel ist, zum Beispiel in dem Fall den Layup ohne Verteidiger, also ohne.
Das ist das Endziel. Wird es immer passieren? Nein. Aber also
Aber
das bedeutet ja auch.
Wenn ich die Übung erkläre, dass ich das quasi wirklich das Ziel
Auf jeden Fall.
immer mit sage,
Weil das sind die Würfe, die wir haben
ja
wollen. Genau, das sind die Würfe, die wir haben wollen.
erklärt und findet mal selber einen Weg oder was gut funktioniert und was nicht, aber das Ziel quasi gleich mitnehmen und sagen, zack, das möchte ich sehen.
Genau, weil was wird passieren? Sagen wir, jemand macht das und jetzt kommt der Verteidiger davor. So, was weiß das Kind jetzt immer noch?
ich würde immer noch auch abstoppen, Richtungswechsel.
Genau, ich kann jetzt,
Geschwindigkeit nutzen von dem anderen.
ich kann vielleicht einen Shotfake machen, damit du vorbeispringst und ich dann ein 1 gegen 0 Layup habe. Ja, dadurch erzeugst du genau das, was wir besprochen haben. Es geht mehr um das Endziel, anstatt wie er das oder wie der Spieler das halt schafft. Deswegen ist elementar wichtig, dass du sagst, ne, was sind Würfe, die wir haben wollen. So. I want to share another story with you. I got the idea from, what's your name? Andrew. He talked about scoop layup and they have to put a little bit spin on there, okay? Would everybody agree here that Kyrie Irving is a very skilled player when it comes to finding solutions, finishing at the rim? Yeah? Okay. Does any one of you know how he practiced when he was younger? Huh? This is a classical environmental constraint. Nobody told him to put spin on there and did, but in order to be successful in finishing at the rim, he had to use the backboard with spin. Does anybody of you know the story of Stephen Curry when he practiced with his father and about the rim? Would everybody agree that Stephen Curry has a very high arc when he shoots the ball? Okay. Does anyone of you know the story? No? In his backyard, when he was practicing with his father, the rim was extremely hard. So every time he would hit the rim, it would be off. Environmental constraint. So in order to be successful, he had to shoot in a high arc so the ball would go in. We want to create environments where those kind of behaviors happen. All right. Don't focus on the left side. We're gonna do this at the end, okay? Just the right side. Just the right side, okay? I'm gonna. And I want to explain why I'm differentiating between 1-against-1 shooting and 2-against-1 shooting. Because what's the obvious difference? What's the obvious difference?
In one-on-one, you have to get the shot out, and 2-against-1, you can always pass.
Just like Marius explained also, you have a good shooter, and we want to make him even more quicker with his release. Or we have a shooter that we want to develop a quicker release, but if I put him on this spot and I challenge him there, success rate is going down. He will not get the shot off, and then we're thinking about our shot selection. We don't want to have a shot that will get blocked in the game, or at least not that often. So that we then have to create an environment where we find the optimal challenge point that the shooting coordination gets faster. Because we don't have any decisions here. We cannot drive and we cannot pass the ball. It's just about shooting with the information that is needed in the actual game. Contested shooting, representative shooting. Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, last thing. This is my favorite question. Every time I'm at the Bundesjugendlager, I give a clinic about shooting 3 days long. And my favorite question is, what is an open shot? Because everybody is talking about, we want to have open shots. And then I ask them, okay, what is an open shot for you? I'm not asking you right now, but and lots of the time, they haven't even made their mind about this. And then I ask them the follow-up question, and does your team know this? I don't know. So let's dive in real quick. Sorry. Just this one question. What is your point of view of an open shot? What is your definition? And again, there's no scientific definition of this. It's just what you think.
And you really have time to set your feet and then get the shot off.
You have time to set your feet, okay? Clear view. Rhythm.
Being able to go through your shooting motion without getting disturbed from the
Yeah. I don't know what your shooting definition is. Mine goes into this direction. If the defender is able to significantly, right? Change my shooting motion, it's not a shot that we want to take anymore. If you have this kind of definition and you practice without defense shooting, which is not wrong, but then again, think about it. How does the player can get a feedback if there's no defender about your definition of an open shot? You really have to think about this. And again, I didn't put it in there, but there's like meta-analysis studies about what happens if you put a defender, because shooting is like a well-researched topic, what happens if the defender is in the environment and somebody is shooting. There's significantly changes. For example, the time that the time that the ball is in the air, the time that the shooter's in the air. Of course, shooting percentages go down. And another interesting fact, you have the quiet eye. If the defender is there, you talk about quiet eye is there because the perception when you see the basket is reduced. So lots of benefits if you put there a defender. Now the question is, and that's what we're going to work on tomorrow and Sunday, how are you constraining the defender so that they can get a lot of experiences with the needed information, aka defender, without disturbing him and still having success rate when they're shooting? This is your task now. 5 minutes. Let's go. Ich habe jetzt kein Bild nochmal extra mitgebracht, aber alle haben ja das wahrscheinlich mitbekommen, wie krass. Sorry, English. I didn't put a picture in there about like statistical things about three-point shooting. I think everybody recognized three-point shot is, I wouldn't say still going up, but it's at a level where it's never been. Okay, why is it? Why is it this way? And I want to make a short visualization. Thank you. Oh my God. What's your name? Lawrence. Lawrence is an excellent mid-range shooter. Okay, he's shooting 50% of the field. I'm okay, three-point shooter, 30% shooter. Okay, 3 points. We play whoever has 100 points first. Okay. How many shots does he need? Exactly. How many do I need? No. Points. Sorry, points. Huh? How many shots do I need? I'm 30% three-point shooter. Huh? It's 99 then, 34. Okay? And then I'm above 100. So, how many times less do I need the ball than him? 16 times less. 16, yeah. This is why we see this kind of development, because it's just statistics. This is why we see, and we need to develop the players because it's such a big part of the game right now that they need to be shooting threes. At least at the youth level, I believe that we should be teaching them that the three is a big part of the game. And this is again important for you to know. I don't want to say don't ever shoot a mid-range jumper again, but if I can create a learning environment, I definitely be more intention about what kind of shots are allowed. Because if you play 4 against 4 or half court and you say there are no mid-range shots allowed, again, it's a totally you will see a totally different behavior. They will either crash or they will kick it out for a 3-pointer. Yeah. Okay. Next thing, now we have decision making within. They can dribble, they can pass. For me, it's something really, really important to say. The principle of dominoes. This is when we are in an advantage situation. We want to have 0-second decisions. Why do we want this in an advantage situation? To keep the advantage. To keep the advantage. Or even expand the advantage. Oftentimes I see coaches, they see on Instagram a small-sided game and an advantage setup. They copy and paste the drill, which is good, and then they don't put a time constraint in those kind of advantages drills. And I would always ask them, what happens after 10 seconds when you do this kind of activity? Is this realistic like in the game when the players are not making fast decisions? No, it is not. Okay, then please manipulate the constraints in a way that it's more functional and more representative for the players which you're going to face in the game. One defender can guard 2 players. This is like common knowledge. Floor is lava. This is also, I hope I can cover the language topic for maybe 5 minutes. It's going to put a picture in the head of the players. How often did I say, run behind the 3-point line? If you say the floor is lava and somebody passes the ball, 21, 22, 23, he's still standing. What can we do as a coach? Instead of them cognitive explaining them that this is not good and blah, 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 which is all correct, what could we instead do? Exactly, you burned, turnover, other team gets the ball. This might sound hard in the beginning, but trust me, the players will adapt. Okay? 2 against 1, 2 against 2, 3 against 2. Create an activity. No. You can decide which setup you want to do. And I'm going to show everyone from every activity something that I like. Ich werde Passen übernehmen für euch. Komplett. Sorry. I'm gonna cover the topic of passing. I try to make it quick. Language. I was being taught, Felix, elbow 90 degrees, feet square to the basket. Okay? Which was meant for good reasons. For me personally, I think. What science says about language and motor learning is that internal cues are slowing movement down and even reduces performance. Internal cues is everything that is internally within your body. So what the MTO, the Mini-Trainer-Offensive, like, and how you talk actually with the younger kids is actually how I talk also with the pro players I work with in Leverkusen. I'm not saying to them, go shoot with a Zauberecke, with a magic square. but I try to put a picture in their head what they should be doing. For example, I am a big believer in the dip. Yeah, when you catch the ball, and this was also like when I did this, and now I understand it like in retrospective. I used to do this with the ball. Okay, can you give me a ball that like everybody understands what I'm talking about? I get the ball. Before I shoot it, I'm gonna dip it, and then I'm gonna shoot it. This for me created rhythm. But my coach said, Felix, don't put the ball in front of your fucking balls. This is what he said. Okay, 1-to-1. Every time I see players, or oftentimes when they don't dip the ball, does any one of you have an idea what the shooting picture is looking like? Meaning, how are they missing most of the time if they don't dip the ball? Does anyone have an idea? Exactly. And everybody is talking about the legs. Yeah, the legs are important, but it's also important because just when you look at like this, you go down and you leave the ball like this instead of going with the ball. And then instead of me explaining, yeah, you have to dip the ball, Stephen Curry is dipping the ball, Kevin Durant is dipping the ball, blah, 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 and biomechanically it makes a lot of sense because you have a better energy, blah, 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 blah. This is all the knowledge that you have in your head already, but you don't put it in the player's head. What could you externally say, or how could you externally cue them without saying to them what I just said? To put a picture in their head that they're trying to dip the ball. What could you say? Huh? Loading and shooting? Okay. Other ideas?
I usually tell the kids when the ball comes to you, you don't want to stop the energy. If the coach is telling you to catch it here and don't dip, but when you say go short, right? If you catch the ball, the energy right when the ball comes to you, use your energy to let the ball force come into you to bring the energy for the shot to go in that situation.
Yeah. What if I tell, don't think about the pink elephant? I know it's not every time possible, but I'm big when it comes about shooting. Don't teach don'ts. So I would try to phrase it in a positive way, yeah, without the don't. I often use 3 examples: put the ball on the ground, shoot, try to dip the ball into a when I work with younger players, I ask them, what's your favorite thing to go with pommes or with fries? They say mayonnaise or ketchup. Okay, dip the ball into the mayonnaise or ketchup. Then they have a picture and then they let it fly. Okay? Because, and this should be the roundup now, external cues don't hinder the movement, especially when you do something new. I don't know if you did something new. Yeah, you learned something new. For example, I learned how to surf skate, and then everybody came to me and said, "You have to do it like this. Do the foot has to be like this and like this." And then I was like, I couldn't do it, and this just try to figure it out myself. The first study that have been done on internal and external cueing was with a ski ergometer. Ergometer? Skier? Okay. First group was told, try to put as much force as you can on the outside of your foot. Okay? Was an old one. Was like this. Okay? Not like this. Second group was told, put as much force as you can on the outside of the plate. It's one word that we're talking about here that is changing. And the amount of meters that they were able to do with the external cue were higher in the beginning, and then they did a retention test 2 or 3 weeks later and was even higher. There's been much research about this. Internal, external cueing, really important. Okay. I'm gonna explain to the coaches a little bit more in detail on Saturday and Sunday what we're gonna do with differential learning when we go 1 against 0 and why it could make sense. But I think for today it's enough. Thank you.